Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. There's a rare quality in certain people, something quietly powerful. They move through betrayal, disappointment, rejection, and chaos without collapsing. They're not pretending, they're not numb, they're just steady. It's not that they don't feel the storm. It's that they've rooted themselves in a place the storm can't reach. These are not emotionless people. They've simply stopped giving the world permission to control their nervous system. Most people live on edge, walking through life like emotional tripwires. The smallest inconvenience sends them into a spiral. A glance, a delay, a passive remark. Anything can hijack their inner state. But the ones who've cultivated inner stillness, they don't flinch. They don't react without thought, they choose their response. We've been conditioned to believe that every feeling deserves an immediate reaction. Someone insults you? Fire back. Someone disrespects you? Shut down or explode. But what if that pattern is exactly what's keeping you stuck? What if every reaction is just a doorway to something deeper? Carl Jung understood that most of our suffering isn't caused by what happens to us, but by how we interpret it. When something external hits a nerve, it's revealing a wound, not creating it. And until we learn to recognize those wounds, they'll keep getting poked by life. This is the essence of shadow work, the process of becoming aware of the hidden parts of ourselves, the parts we've buried, denied, or disowned. Every emotional spike is a flare from the unconscious mind, signaling something that needs to be acknowledged. But let's be honest, most people avoid those signals. They numb, distract, or blame. It's easier to criticize the outside world than to explore the inner one. It's easier to blame the trigger than to ask what it triggered. The ones who truly awaken don't run from their pain. They examine it. They stop pointing fingers and start looking inward. They don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What is this showing me?" When you understand that your reactions are mirrors, something shifts. You stop being a puppet pulled by emotions. You become an observer. You begin to take ownership, not of the world, but of your inner world. That's where real power lives. Inner mastery, not external control. And from that space, peace is no longer conditional. You don't need life to be perfect to feel grounded. You create your own center and stay there. But the truth is, this kind of transformation is uncomfortable. It requires you to face parts of yourself you've ignored. It requires you to stop blaming your boss, your partner, or your childhood. It demands that you take full responsibility for your internal state. Most people would rather stay in victim mode. It feels safer, it feels familiar. But victimhood always comes with a price: your peace. To those brave enough to break that pattern, freedom becomes possible. A freedom not tied to outcomes, validation, or flawless relationships. A freedom that lives inside you. This isn't detachment in the cold sense. It's presence. A grounded clarity that sees everything clearly, without being thrown off course. You don't need to run from difficult people. You don't need to manipulate outcomes. You just remain rooted in yourself. Most people chase control. They try to shape every conversation, every impression, every outcome. But control is an illusion. The world is unpredictable. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. Control is always temporary. And when your peace depends on things going your way, you will suffer. Not because life is cruel, but because you've built your stability on something unstable. This is why people who chase control often feel the most anxious. The tighter the grip, the more unstable life feels. But there's another way. Let go. Let go of needing people to act a certain way. Let go of needing outcomes to unfold exactly how you imagined. Let go of chasing peace through performance. When you stop clinging, something unexpected happens. The things you once chased start coming toward you. Why? Because you're no longer creating resistance. You're aligned. You're not acting from fear or desperation, but from presence. Science backs this up. Psychologists have shown that the more we fear failure, the more we sabotage ourselves. The more we chase love from a place of emptiness, the more we repel it. The more we force peace, the more inner conflict we create. All of this stems from one thing: attachment, and attachment is born from fear. Jung said that what we call personality is often just a defense mechanism, an identity we construct to avoid pain. If you want to find your freedom, follow your reactions. They're breadcrumbs. They'll lead you straight to the beliefs you carry about your worth, your value, your right to exist. So how do you shift? Start by paying attention. Real attention. Not to the world, but to yourself. The next time you're triggered, don't react. Don't justify. Just pause. Breathe. Ask, what inside me feels threatened right now? You'll almost always uncover a belief that's ready to be challenged. If someone calls you a failure and it rattles you, ask why. Do you fear it might be true? If someone ignores you and you spiral, ask why. Do you still equate attention with love? No one has ever hurt you without touching a wound that already existed. Pain doesn't come from what was said. It comes from the meaning you assigned to it, the story it reinforced, the identity it threatened. And most people would rather avoid those stories than confront them. That's why they avoid conflict, end relationships, quit jobs, unfollow people. Not because it's healing, but because it delays the real work. Here's what the emotionally untouchable understand. The trigger is the teacher. The insult, the disrespect, the chaos. It's not the enemy, it's the messenger. The problem isn't what happened, it's what it activated in you. And until you become aware of what's being activated, you'll keep reacting the same way, over and over again. The goal isn't apathy. It's non-reactivity, not coldness, not distance, but the ability to observe what rises in you without becoming it. That's strength. This isn't easy. It's a rewiring. Most of us were taught to explode or suppress. But reactivity isn't your destiny, it's your conditioning. And anything conditioned can be reconditioned. Through mindfulness, breathwork, reflection, and self-inquiry, you can retrain your mind. You can become the kind of person who notices emotion without becoming consumed by it. Imagine this, say, someone throws an insult your way. It echoes, but inside you're still. There's no story, no spiral, just awareness. You think, that's not mine, and move on. That's not weakness. That's emotional mastery. When nothing inside you matches the chaos outside you, the chaos loses its grip. There's nothing to grab onto, no wound to hook, no identity to provoke. Most people aren't reacting to others. They're reacting to their own fragile sense of self. When that identity gets threatened even slightly, they collapse. And then they blame. But you're not here to collapse, you're here to rise. As your awareness deepens, something beautiful happens. You stop needing to explain yourself. You stop chasing understanding. You stop offering your energy to things that don't serve your evolution. You become the observer of your emotions, not the slave of them. The master of your presence, not the prisoner of your past. That's real emotional sovereignty. It doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean nothing touches you. It means you don't let everything control you. You choose what enters your space. You choose your response. And from that space, life shifts. Not because life changes, but because you do. Conflict becomes a mirror. Rejection becomes redirection. Feedback becomes growth. The world stops being your enemy. It becomes your teacher. This is how an untouchable mind is built. Not by avoiding pain, but by facing it. Not by suppressing emotions, but by witnessing them without reaction. The question isn't, how do I avoid being triggered? The question is, how present can I stay when I am? That's the transformation, that's the work. When you live from that question, you stop fearing the storm, because you realize the storm isn't more powerful than your awareness of it. You become untouchable, not because nothing affects you, but because nothing controls you. And that's real power. When you carry that energy, people feel it. They might not understand it, but they sense it. You're no longer reactive. You're no longer predictable. You're rooted. You become the calm in the chaos, the stillness in the noise, the one who doesn't flinch, not because you're hardened, but because you're healed. This isn't performance. It's not ego. It's not about pretending to be strong. It's about becoming strong by no longer depending on the world to validate your worth. And yes, the world will still test you. But now, you see through the pattern. You see the pain behind the provocation, and you choose whether to engage. You stop being emotionally hijacked by someone else's wounds. You protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. And with that, your life changes. You start attracting people who match your frequency. The ones who drained you fade. The ones who meet you rise. And where there was once noise, now there's quiet strength. This is the mind that can walk through fire and not burn. Not because the fire isn't real, but because you've become the one who no longer collapses in its presence. If you've made it this far, something inside you is waking up. You're remembering your power. You're remembering that peace is not found in control. It's found in awareness. You don't have to react. You don't have to control. You just have to come back to the stillness that's always been inside you. Let me know in the comments, what's one thing you're ready to stop giving your power to? Your answer might be the spark someone else needs. Subscribe if this resonated. Share it with someone who needs this reminder. And until next time, stay grounded, stay awake, stay deeply, unapologetically yourself.